Smith out of Arnold, Missouri had that stomper all over the place, but you can see just how strong Equalizer was coming down the stretch toward a world championship. Equalizer seemed to get better and better every week. There he is, red lights blazing, the awesome Gravedigger. Gravedigger putting on a show throughout the year in 1989 on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge against King KRUNCH in a qualifying run. A lot of bounce all over the track, but Gravedigger able to outduel King KRUNCH in that qualifying run. Of course, he'd have to make it stand up later. But in the time trials, Digger laid down an outstanding shot with King KRUNCH right beside him. We're going to take a look one more time at the awesome Gravedigger laying down his shot with King KRUNCH alongside of it. When we come back, we'll be taking a look at first round highlights. Monster truck action from the Omni here on ESPN. TNT Monster Truck Challenge coming right back at you from Atlanta's Omni. There's Rod Litzow, who won the World Championship on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge driving USA 1 in 1988. Rupp taking over for Litzow in the late stages. As we look back at the Omni, we're going to see Buffalo Tremor on the left of your screen against Litzow's USA 1 being driven by Steve Wilkie. And what
we're here to race. That's what I'm here for, to win.
How about Wilkie? He ran you an awfully strong race in the USA 1 truck. It was awfully close out there.
Yeah, he did. I think I just took the right bounce when I come off the end of the cars there, and I think I got him.
You mentioned something right there. It's kind of interesting. All the guys have been hoping for that good bounce. It's that important, isn't it?
That's what it is, because when you're coming off that hill and you're hitting the first set, it's just that one. All you got is that one bounce to come off the end of the cars, and that's what's going to win the race.
Now Army Armstrong's making his way over to Steve Wilkie, the driver of USA 1, who is frankly struggling after replacing the '88 world champion Rod Litzow.
Steve, tight run. It was, you know, we had to go back to the camera to find out who won that thing.
Yeah, Army, every time I run John, it's a close race. He's running really hard. He's come up, picked it up a lot. He detuned his motor, and he's not so hesitant with the motor anymore. And I had to run pretty hard. I thought I had him.
But not this time. Tremor got that win in Atlanta. Clydesdale lined up against Carolina Crusher. Now remember, Crusher needed a win in this race to keep pace with the Equalizer battling for the World Championship. Equalizer had the edge. Crusher had to find a way to make up some points late in the season. But watch what happened early on against the Clydesdale. In front of a lot of fans from his home state of Georgia, Bennett, Clark, and Clydesdale upset Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher early on. Clark getting the win out of Powder Springs in front of the fans in Atlanta, Georgia.
Bennett, a 5:29 quick time in front of your own hometowns to put away this guy that's so tough and setting number 2 in the national points chase.
Yeah, Gary's running real tough this year. I knew I was going to have to come off the line as hard as I could. I thought he was going to get ahead of me. When I first come over the hill, when my front end hit the ground, my foot come completely off the gas. I had to regather the gas with my right foot, stand back in it. It was hard right to the end.
No doubt that Equalizer was strong. Every race out, the final events of the season on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. But that race, that win by Clydesdale, really helped David Morris pad the advantage in Atlanta's Omni. Now, when Morris came out, already seeing Crusher defeated, he went up against MOPAR Magic. Won it easily. David Morris, the Equalizer, puts MOPAR away, smiling already because Carolina Crusher was beaten, but he later revealed to us that the Equalizer almost was unable to race MOPAR Magic. There were problems, and they almost didn't have the truck ready for this round of racing, but Gary Cook and crew got it ready for David Morris, and he got the win.
Well, David, Porter's out of this thing. You can really help your cause as far as points go this afternoon in Atlanta.
Yeah, Carolina Crusher being out is going to help me a lot. The Equalizer was almost out. On our qualifying run, we busted a brake line. We managed to get to a local car store in between rounds, believe it or not, put another brake line on.
We'll see you in that next round.
Thanks, Arm.
That completed highlights from the first round of racing in Atlanta. Steve Wilkie paced nervously, waiting to see if his USA 1 would make the quarterfinals as a fast loser. We'll see in just a moment. I'm Scott Douglas with Lewis Chapman back on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge, reviewing the stretch run for determining a world champion in 1989. Equalizer against the Jersey Outlaw. of Chevy fans in the Omni, and they loved it as the Equalizer put the Jersey Outlaw Ford on the trailer. Equalizer getting the victory. And again, remember, in points, Carolina Crusher already out of competition. Each win padded the advantage further and further for David Morris and the Equalizer. And there you see a convincing win over the Jersey Outlaw in Atlanta's Omni. Now, USA 1 had been beaten, as we showed you a few moments ago. But Steve Wilkie's truck able to get back in because of the fast loser rule. The fast loser being brought back to the quarterfinal round. So a reprieve, a second life in Atlanta for Steve Wilkie. He would go up against Dave Wysork and the Nightlight. Wysork knows how to run indoors. He won at the Astrodome earlier in the year. Time, as you can see, although they almost came together at the end of the track. Rod Litzow says, good job, buddy, as Steve Wilkie wins it for USA 1. And boy, watch the end. My goodness, a little contact wheel to wheel between Wysork and Litzow. Next quarterfinal round matchup, Clydesdale, closest to you, against King Crunch and Scott Stevens out of Woodland, Texas. Starting late in the year, Stevens was not a player for the World Championship, but you can see by the end of the year, he was as good as anybody. Watch him here as the computerized state-of-the-art King Crunch wins by a full length on a short course over the Clydesdale, and that knocked off Bennett Clark in his home state of Georgia. Buffalo TREMOR and the Gravedigger ready to go to war, and Dennis Anderson's brother puts a little Gravedigger hex, putting some dirt on, planning on burying Buffalo TREMOR. Did he do it? Watch right here. Gravedigger lays down a shot and gets it done in the Omni. So the Equalizer was next.
I'm going to dig him a grave. I'm going to put him away this round.
When we return to the TNT Monster Truck Challenge on ESPN, we pause just a moment to congratulate the 1989 national champion of the TNT All-American Pulling Series. The Gravedigger and more superstars of monster truck racing will be right back on ESPN in a few moments. But we wanted to take just a second to congratulate the 1989 TNT All-American Pulling Series champion. Tommy Holman wins the 4x4, the modified four-wheel drive truck division in Saturday Night Driller. He got a great test from Manuel Marino in the Yellow Rose of Texas and Donnie Sanders in the Tennessean, but Holman able to come away with the national championship. This is Donnie Sanders, the Tennessean out of Nashville, Tennessee, year in and year out. One of the strongest contenders, and it seems like always a player for the national championship. Out of Texas, Manuel Marino, a great favorite. He's out of Seguin, Texas, in that beautiful Yellow Rose of Texas, modified four-wheel drive truck. And there's the national champion, out of the state of Ohio, Wayne, Ohio to be exact, Tommy Holman, who won it all in the Saturday Night Driller. In the two-wheel drive, super modified 6,200-pounders, Ray Carpenter and the Sundance Kid claimed the national championship convincingly over Ken Lamont's Plano Toolbox's Midnight Express. A tie for third between Jack Daniels, Mark Hare, this truck, and Dan Walsh in the Irish Challenger. Here you see Jack Daniels with Mark Hare in the cockpit, and of course the guy he tied with for third was Dan Walsh. Walsh in the Irish Challenger out of MAUSTON, Wisconsin. Ken Lamont has been, for several years, one of the true stars in the sport of pulling. And here you see his very popular El Camino, the Plano Toolbox's Midnight Express. But in 1989, the national champion was Ray Carpenter's Sundance Kid out of Benton American Pulling Series Modified Tractor Championship. Could not have been any closer. It came down to the final pull of the year, but Tim Engler's Mission Impossible held off the challenge from Mike Piper and Just Add Dirt. Actually, it was Dave Walsh in the Irish Challenger winning a pull-off over Piper that allowed the championship to go to Engler. Mike Piper's Just Add Dirt was strong and really finished a little hotter than Tim Engler, but Engler was able to build up an early...
The paint job cannot be done, obviously, in a day. What does that take to get that job complete?
Well, it takes my son and I 7 days to do a truck from the time it's black until the time we're ready to clear it. That's about 14 hours a day, and about half that time is spent nothing but tape work. You have to tape everything up before you start, then you start untaping as you paint.
Dennis, you said you didn't like the colors. Why not?
Well, I didn't think that green on a black truck was going to work, and I told Fred that, but he just told me to, you know, to back out, let me take care of it. The job's mine. Just leave me alone until it's done. That's what I did, and it turned out great.
So, Fred, what did you have to do to get Dennis to see things your way in regards to this paint job?
First off, I had to do a sketch for him. Then I had to show him colors, and then we argued about it. And then I did my final thing I do with all customers. I said, take a hike for about 7 days, leave the truck with me, and come back. If you don't like it, I'll redo it. If you do like it, it goes on the road. And that's what happened. It ended up on the road.
The biggest part of the Gravedigger image, of course, is Dennis Anderson's bonsai driving style and the name itself. But there is no doubt that paint job is the most popular in any form of motorsports worldwide. Hey, here's a couple popular trucks. The Monster Smash Final in the Omni, Equalizer, and King Krunch. Incredible shot by Scott Stevens in King Krunch, considering he had only rear-wheel drive. He stayed with the Equalizer, and as they crossed that finish line, nobody in the Omni knew for sure who was the winner.
Well, Scott, we're waiting to find out the win. Come on over here, Crash. You guys did something a lot of people didn't expect. You were hurt, rear-wheel drive only, but you ran a super race out there.
Yeah, actually, four-wheel drive makes you bounce a little in here, because when you come down off that hill, you're planting your suspension real hard. And we talked it over, and we knew that we could run a hard pass. This was the worst lane all night if you had four-wheel drive, but in two-wheel drive, if we moved over to the far left on the start, there wasn't no bumps there, and we knew we could drive out of it. And I seen Dave didn't get off the line real good, so we tried. I don't know if we won. Equalizer won.
Okay, well, this received word. He did well. Congratulations to you. Crash, you did a fine job. But there had to be a lot of thought go into that decision. A lot of people would not have run a truck hard at all.
Yeah, we thought about it when we were out there trying to fix it. I had another shaft, but I didn't have a U-joint. I could have put the shaft in with a bad U-joint, but I was scared it was going to come out like that one did and try to flip him over. So we just said, take it out, go out there, and just try to go over the hill easy and then mash the gas and try to keep the truck level.
It worked. You guys work real good together.
All right, thank you.
Let's take a look at the replay to see just how close the final was. Now, the Equalizer Chevrolet, the King Krunch GMC, side by side in the Monster Smash Final, and you'll see here on the videotape, as they come across that finish line, a wheel, all the difference there was between Equalizer and King Krunch. That earned David Morrison, the Equalizer, the winner's silver flag, but he thinks the flag is bad luck.
Well, David Morris's championship getting closer and closer. Are you sure you don't want this flag?
I don't want it, Army. That flag is a jinx to me.
Folks, he won't touch the flag. Okay, we'll hand it back to our producer there. Congratulations on a great run. But we got to give this guy credit, too. A lot of people counted him out, and he ran you hard.
Yeah, I knew he was going to be running hard. He was only running with a rear drive shaft, but I knew he was still going to come down hard on me. We got problems with our motor. I think we busted a head on the motor.
That could be key heading into the final races of the season in Louisville. But as you can see, Carolina Crusher has a lot of ground to make up. Equalizer almost has to not show up going into the final races of the season for Carolina Crusher to catch him on the World Championship points chase. USA 1 is a solid third. Gravedigger solid in the fourth spot. Nightlife and Dave Wysorek holding down the number 5 position after the races in Atlanta's Omni, trying to crown the world champion of TNT racing. One more time, the Monster Smash Final in Atlanta went to the Equalizer. Earlier, we showed you how the paint scheme was developed on the Gravedigger. Now Dennis Anderson tells us how the creation of the Gravedigger monster truck came about.
Well, I started out mud bog, and it's been 1982. I built the first Gravedigger. It was a 51 Ford pickup truck. Had small tires on it. They were big compared to everybody else's then, but compared to what I have now, they're really itty-bitty tires. But anyway, I started out mud bogging, and I was dominating in the mud and kept winning, and everybody was out. As far as my competitor guys that built mud bog rigs, they were out to get the Gravedigger. So really, the guys at home chased me to where I am today. Well, I made the name up one night. It was real late in the shop. We'd finished the truck up, and we're going to the mud bog the next day, and I said, man, I need to put me a name on the side of this truck. And I've been picking on my buddy there for that week, and I told him that he had a real nice, shiny street truck, and I told him I'd take this old truck and dig him a grave with it, you know. And so I sat there and thought about that, and I said, well, I'll call it Gravedigger. So I got up and took some masking tape, taped off Gravedigger on the side of it, took me a spray can of paint, sprayed over the tape, put me a big black spot on the side of it. I peeled the tape off, Gravedigger showed up on the side of it. So I went to the mud bog, and the name really got hooked in good with the people because I won the first mud bog I went to. Come back the next month, and I won again. So really people, the announcer really loved the name Gravedigger, you know, and so it hung in there with me, you know, and then I kept on just making the truck a little bit better because I had guys that was competing against me. They'd get a little bit closer to me, so I'd just do something a little bit better than they did. So with a little big, you know, a little bigger tire, and I just kept advancing in tire sizes, so I finally had a monster truck because I was crushing cars with a mud bog rig too. And I was the first one in our area to crush cars at a mud bog because the guy wanted to do something special that weekend. It was a Gravedigger birthday party. They're calling it a Monster Bog Bash. And I crushed a set of cars down in Creeds in Pungo, Virginia.
A couple of great nights of action at Atlanta's Omni, and after those results, it left us with 2 races to determine the 1989 TNT Monster Truck Champion. Those races were coming up at Louisville's Freedom Hall.
That's right, Scott. And next week here on ESPN, we'll take a look at those 2 races. As you'll recall, back in 1988, USA 1 clinched the national title in a rollover win against Bigfoot.
We'll be wrapping up 1989's highlights from the TNT Monster Truck Challenge next week, and then a little later on ESPN, this new Outlaw and other top trucks will be ready for the 1990 season. For Chris Chapman, I'm Scott Douglas. See you next week here on ESPN's Monster Truck Challenge.